Hello and welcome to episode 357 of Sutton Impact Family Style. I'm Jason.
I'm Bill, and we're going to start off talking about court storming today after the Duke incident, which followed the Iowa incident, which happened in Nebraska. So they both were on the road, and, as you could expect. But, we're talking about the ACC. The ACC is the only school that doesn't, the only conference that doesn't have a fining mechanism in place for this. Or, from what I've seen, they don't have a plan.
No plan.
I mean, when you saw that, you could see that Wake Forest was going to win that game.
Yeah.
And you could see the fans being really jacked up. So you knew it was going to, if you didn't think court storming was going to happen, then you were crazy, because it was going to happen.
Right.
But you got to have, I don't know, if you just thought, the athletic director thought, oh, we're not going to win the game, I'm not worried about this today. And then he come out and the team played a lot better and you just weren't prepared for it. But, you got to be prepared for it regardless. But, this guy's going to miss a couple games now, it looks like.
Right.
It looks like, I thought immediately when it happened it was a knee. And the first thing they reported was an ankle, and I didn't see that. And now they're saying it is a knee. But then I'm also seeing that they haven't done an MRI or anything yet either.
No, it had happened, like, when you watch it in real time, which I advise everybody to do. Like, you can watch the slow-mo to see the chaos of it, but you really need to watch it in real time to see how fast it happened. Like, there was no time to react for the player, really. Because I know you mentioned, like, do you think he stuck his leg out or... And I, honestly, in fast motion, it's hard to say anything happened other than,
But when you see when you see the last scene with how many people are actually on the court,
yeah,
it's pretty incredible.
And again,
that's a lot of people on the court.
That's a lot of people. And like you said, it's, he's a star starting center for the Duke basketball team. Caitlin Clark is obviously one of the most famous female players in the world, right? And they were both caught up in whatever, this court storming, which I've heard a lot of takes today. One was sort of from NFL players saying, you used to see a streaker and the TV would show you the streaker and we stopped showing you the streaker.
Right.
I think the only issue with that, and, I'm not on the show, but my counter would have been, yeah, that's when you had a TV camera filming it. And now you have everybody's camera filming it. So, like, the footage you can't stop the footage anymore like you used to, right?
Right.
You have everyone in the stands has a HD camera. Some of them even have gyro to keep it straight. Like, everyone's got a picture of that. Everyone's got their own version of that from the stands. So you're not stopping the footage from getting out. It's a nice thought, but I just think it doesn't take into account 2024. And then...
No, and it's become a real issue because... like you said, the speed was incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, how quick they got on that court. That was quicker than the Iowa-Nebraska game.
That's the fact. I've never seen it that fast. It was like just a wild herd of buffalo came out of nowhere.
Yeah, and I mean, and they seem to be much more, much more celebratory or out of control, whatever you want, whatever word you want to use to describe it. It was very, very different. Right.
And again, you're not going to curb the behavior because it's something everybody wants to say they were a part of. Everybody wants to say they do, Like, if they were talking about, like, you take everybody's picture and find them afterwards, and some people compared it to, like, January 6th type situation, which I think is kind of ridiculous because it's not done in...
Yeah, I think that's ridiculous too.
But it's ESPN, they got to do what they got to do. There's no malice involved, though. It's just people wanting to be part of celebrating a victory. And, you're there, you're cheering, you're screaming.
And you're beating Duke.
Yeah.
You're beating one of those teams that everybody wants to beat.
And a Duke team that my entire life, and we'll talk a little bit about former alum J.J. Redick of Duke. Duke is also just, they're the bad guy from 80s movies. Like, that's who Duke, like, they're the guy shutting down the dance center for the kids. Duke. Yeah, like, it's always snotty looking white kids. It just is, right?
Yeah.
From Christian Laettner to... who's the guy that steps on everybody? Grayson Allen to JJ.
Grayson Allen, yeah.
Yeah, JJ. They always have that guy, that irritating.
They've had a real collection. Yes, they've had a real collection of people that irritate people.
Yeah. And like I said, then you've got the Leitners of the world with stepping on people, and Grayson Allen and all of his stuff. Like, they also are a team that has a reputation for maybe Bill Belichicking everything, right? Taking everything as far as they can possibly take it.
Mm-hmm.
And that doesn't help. I mean, that way when you beat them, like, you're not just beating your rival. You're not just beating the team that's been the best, top of college basketball for the last 40 years. You're also taking down the villain in a world where we don't have a lot of sports, maybe not as many sports villain type situations. So yeah, it does seem like, you would at least, because it doesn't seem like they're ever going to hurt the home team, right? So.
No, it's just, but you have to figure this out. There has to be a way. You got to protect your players.
Yeah. And again, when you watch it, we advise everybody to watch it. Like, it doesn't look like there was much time for anybody to do anything. So I don't really, we don't really have the solution, but it's easy to shoot down the dumb ones. So.
Yeah, but we can point out, there isn't a solution. There needs to be one.
Yeah.
There needs to be a procedure. There needs to be a plan.
The teams, and again, there's plenty of money in NCAA basketball, Division I, Duke kind of stuff.
Yes, there is.
So you could easily have a couple of extra security guards, even if their job is just to make sure you get to the visiting players and yank them off the court as safely as possible. Right?
Right.
You get somebody my size out there, like, people are going to run around me. Like, you just get a couple big people to be the, don't mess with the
visitor. You're essentially creating a mosh pit.
Yeah.
So, we have to see. But, yeah, we definitely need to do something. Okay. Let's go to, the NFL has become the 12-month league.
It has.
And so the Combine starts, tomorrow?
Mm-hmm.
And I know you're a big Combine fan.
I'm a big just NFL. Like, the NFL is slowly just taking almost all of my sportsdom, right?
Yeah.
Like, even in video games, like, I used to play lots of sports video games, and now I pretty much just play, as far as traditional ones. I'm excited that NCAA football is coming out this summer, but, I'm usually just a Madden guy, and I've sort of given up on all the other ones. Part of that is the games become so complex, but yeah.
So let's talk about the new college football game where the players are getting $600 to copy the game.
Yeah.
And I think I saw like 5,000 players had already opted in as of the other day, right. As of last weekend.
The crazy thing is going back to when I was a child, like, you can go in and edit the roster. So you can make any player you want on there and you can give them any name you want. Mm-hmm. And since consoles have been online for over a decade now, within 24 hours, a modder has already had all the rosters, and you can just upload the roster even to your Xbox or your PlayStation. And obviously on PC, it's been simple since then. So, like, the names are there. And I don't know how you compensate. Because you look at a game like that, and it's, thousands of people have worked on that game mm-hmm. that are all going to be, overworked and underpaid. There's a marketing budget. And then you have, thousands upon thousands of players, all of very, I don't really know what you do,
Do you think more people will buy it now because some players are getting something from it, or do you think it's going to be about the same?
Well, I think now more people are going to buy it because people have just been clamoring for it. The football game was the best game. The NCAA was better than Madden. Because you had, you had all the weird stadiums like Washington with the red field and Boise State with the blue field. And you could run, crazy wishbone. Like, you could do all the weird stuff. So, and I think people have been dying to get it back. And I think, now that it is some compensation for the players, And again, if you're the third guard on, like, the 100th team in there, like, $600 adds up, right?
Yeah, it does.
And again, I don't know what you do if you're Caleb Williams. Do you just opt out, and then you're just USC quarterback number 3, who has all of Caleb Williams' attributes? If he was, I know he's graduating, he's going to be in the NFL. We'll talk about him in a bit, but, you get the NIL money, you got your scholarship.
Well, I think, I think it's a step.
Yeah.
I don't think it's the final place it's going to go.
No.
It's a step. It's a step in the right direction. Speaking of which, since you brought up the NIL thing, a lot of speculation right now about the number of undergrads that won't be coming out for the NFL draft because they can stay in school, be guaranteed their roster spot, and make good money.
Yeah.
So I think, and maybe get better at their skill.
Yeah, it doesn't hurt college football at all. It doesn't hurt the NFL. The NFL has plenty of talent.
No, I think finally this is a win-win.
I think so.
Because we get to see players develop, we get to see consistency, unless they're jumping around in the transfer portal. But, if you're staying with your school and your NIL deal and you're playing another year, as consistency, we'll see.
Yeah.
It's one of those things, it's kind of interesting to watch because, the unintended consequence, it's an unintended consequence. Nobody said we're going to have NIL and that'll make people stay in school.
No.
We're going to have NIL because we think that, players need to be compensated and, we need to do these kinds of things. And the side benefit is, well, they'll stay in school if they've got a good NIL deal. Like, there's no question in my mind that Caitlin Clark would make more money staying at Iowa another year than she would going to WNBA.
Oh,
no question at all.
Yeah.
So I'll be curious to see what she does.
No, I've always liked the option. I know it's never really discussed seriously, but that you could play football for the 3 years or 4 years you're there, and then you have another 3 years to graduate academically. So you could just, as opposed to having this mockery of, college athlete when it's like it's a full-time job.
Oh, no question.
And especially now with the NIL, it's probably even more of a full-time job. And it seems like, if you're going to give your a couple years of your life probably to the university, that they can afford to let you stay there later and finish your degree as opposed to, having to do both at the same time. But I know nobody wants to give any more empathy to the people getting money and scholarships. But, yeah, I guess we can go into our Steeler moment, right?
Yeah, let's talk about it. Jason and I talked offline. I mean, there seems to be a really strong school of thought among the talking heads that Josh Fields is either going to go be a Steeler or a Falcon, with more people picking Steelers.
And a slight dark horse in the Patriots.
The noise coming out of Pittsburgh is we're going to give Kenny Pickett every chance to win the job. So if that's really what you mean, if that's really your truth, then there's no way you bring him in because you can't. He would obviously be better right off the bat than Kenny Pickett.
He's younger and more talented and more accomplished.
And you're not going to spend the money to bring him in and keep Kenny Pickett. So,
no.
I guess what we're going to see is who's telling the truth, right?
Well, the scary thing is, as a Steeler fan, I mean, while you admire it on the one hand, Tomlin is loyal to a fault, right? That's why Canada got to stick around for 2 more years than they should have. It's why guys get to stay on the team a little longer than they should have. It's probably why Big Ben got a 2-year extension when he was already washed. That's part of the Mike Tomlin ethos, right? That's why Dan Moore got this. It's why, you traded up in the first round to get a better tackle, and you put him on the bench because you wanted to stick with your dudes. Until eventually your line got a lot better when you got rid of your guys and put the new guys in. Like, it's just, it does vibe with that, right? That sort of Tomlin Steeler philosophy of we're loyal as far as we can go. But, I think we brought it up on the show before, but the 49ers gave up 3 first-round picks for Trey Lance, who had a lot better physical skill set than Kenny Pickett does, and ushered him out at 22 to the Cowboys for a 4th-round pick because he wasn't the guy. And just a lost cost fallacy from business school, right?
Mm-hmm.
Don't just keep throwing. I mean, and again, as we pointed out, like, they are a quarterback away from being a contender. Now, Patrick Mahomes, that sort of puts everything into a different category. But as far as being, you put a quarterback on this team that keeps winning 10 games with some combination of old Ben Roethlisberger, Kenny Pickett, Mason Rudolph, Duck Hodges, and whoever else has been in that mix over the last 5 years, and they can win.
Yeah, no question.
I don't want to waste another, maybe Cam Hayward's last season. Watt's getting up there in age, right? He's already has 100 career sacks.
Yeah.
Minka's coming up on the end of his new 5-year contract. I mean, you have a lot of guys that are very much in their prime, ready to go now. And if you're not 100% positive that Kenny Pickett is, which I don't understand how you could be, I don't see how you just do nothing.
No, you got to decide. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do here.
But as we talked about, like, you know, you're a big Mason fan, and I've come to at least respect his game over Pickett's. But we talked about, like, considering the locker room is very divided on the Mason Pickett line anyway. I don't see how you can bring Mason back if your goal is to bring, you know, even though that would be at least the smartest move, right? To bring back the one guy that's had some legitimate success in your offense. But I feel like if you bring him back with Pickett, you might as well not bring back Pickett.
Yeah, if you're going to bring back Pickett, you really have to say I'm all in. And then if you're all in and you blow him up halfway through the year, you gave him a shot like you said you were. I don't know. I'm over him. I don't think I was excited when they first drafted him because I thought, okay, and then not immediately, but within a year, I was done. I just don't think he's got the talent to be a starter in the NFL, and it's magnified by the division that he plays in.
Oh yeah,
because he's compared every week, and he's never going to win the comparison.
No,
I would rather have Garner Minshew than Kenny Pickett.
And again, I think it's like over 70% of first-round quarterbacks either bust out or become huge disappointments. So, you know, the fact that a guy that didn't have any of the physical skills you would normally want in a first-round pick isn't working out as a first-round pick shouldn't be shocking.
Yeah, I mean, you got somebody slightly more mobile than Ben Roethlisberger at the end of his career. That's what you got.
Yeah, but someone that doesn't understand pocket awareness, doesn't have a very strong arm. I don't know if his hands ever came into play, but, you know, he had a lot of red flags coming out, and the Steelers ignored them, and it seems like they might continue to, which is a real bummer.
Okay, so you are my draft Nick.
Yeah.
And you're the Bears, you're on the clock. Tell me what you're going to do and why.
Well, this is everybody else's point, so I don't want to get any credit for it, obviously. But, I mean, there's the economics of football. It's a hard cap situation, right? Justin Fields is going into his fourth season. He's only 24 years old, but he is going into his fourth season, which means you have to pick up his fifth-year option. And then either, if you're keeping him, that means you're going to be paying him over $200 million over the course of the next 5 or 6 years. If you draft Caleb Williams, Drake May, and Jaden Daniels with 1 overall, you're resetting your clock. You have a guy on a rookie contract for the next 5 years. And, you know, the guys in charge in Chicago did not draft Justin Fields. The coach is not Justin Fields' coach.
Yep, all valid points.
And again,
and you're trying to build a new stadium.
Yeah.
And at a much higher probably ticket cost and premium costs, you're going to have to sell tickets.
Yeah. And Caleb Williams, for whatever grades are worth, is considered a higher prospect than Justin Fields was. And if you look at the negatives on Caleb Williams, it's, you know, he cried after a game. Like, they're having a hard time finding, like, legitimate things to pick apart about him, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So, and then I've seen some where it's like, if you like Drake May or Jaden Daniels just as much, and Washington seems to have a connection to Caleb Williams, you could still move back 1 spot. Because if you're the Bears, because of that ridiculous Texans draft, you have the 1 pick right now and the 9th pick. So, you know, you can still get 2 top 10 players either way. And then if you trade back 1 spot with Washington because you like Drake May, they left Caleb Williams, they throw in a 3rd or something. Like, if you're the Bears GM, you're in a very nice spot, I think.
Let me ask you a question. So last year, you know, who was the guy at Wake Forest that transferred to Notre Dame?
Oh.
Hartman or something like that?
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah. And he was supposed to be the second coming, right? And now we're not even talking about him in the draft.
No.
I mean, this is going to be a big thing. Like, they thought he might come out and he was going to be a first-round draft pick, and then he transferred to Notre Dame, and they thought this was going to be great, and then, you know, he's going to be. But he's not even talked about as a day 1 pick.
No. Because then you've still got, you know, you've got bigger names that are supposed to, you know, Bo Nix was supposed to be the guy.
Sam Hartman, I think is his name.
Yeah. But you got Bo Nix, you got Spencer Rattler, like 2 of the more high-profile quarterbacks coming into college football most people had heard of. I mean, granted, Bo Nix and Spencer Rattler also have cool names, but, you know, those are 2 guys that have been in school for 6 years. You got Michael Penix, who's moved around. Then you got
whose stock is dropping rapidly after the bowl game.
Yeah. And then you've got a J.J. McCarthy, who's a smaller person, but he's got a big arm, good athletic talent. And unlike Kenny Pickett, he's 21, and there's a lot of unknown with him, right? He's a winner, won the national championship. But, he had a lot of games with Michigan where he threw like 4 times.
Yeah, I mean, he runs, but he can run and throw. Yeah. I mean, he's a very interesting prospect.
And again, it's the Family Guy always has, there's a boat and then there's a box. And Peter Griffin famously says, that box could be anything, Lois. It could be a boat.
Yep.
And that's J.J. McCarthy, where it's like he's 21, he's a winner, he's won the national title, he's going to have pretty good physical skills. He's a little bit frail, like he's not the biggest person, but, he's more the unknown. Whereas like a Bo Nix, it's like he's 24, you've seen what he's done in college, whereas J.J. McCarthy's sort of that. Is he something better? Could he be, I think either way, I think we have 4 quarterbacks off the board in the top 20 for sure. I think it goes 1, 2, 3, and then I think McCarthy goes somewhere in the top 20.
And I see now that they're talking about Bo Nix maybe being between 20 and 30.
That's what they're saying.
I don't know that, but I mean, that's what they're saying. So, I mean, this is the time of year where it's all speculation.
Yeah.
So the combine starts tomorrow, and we're gonna have some combine darlings that emerge like we have every year, right?
Right.
Somebody that can jump through the roof, and somebody that's unbelievably fast, and somebody that ran great patterns, and somebody's got amazing arm strength. I mean, this is the great thing about the NFL. I mean, this is our story. The draft's still 2 months away.
Yeah.
And for the next 2 months, what are we going to be talking about? The draft.
The draft.
We're going to talk about the draft. We're going to talk about free agency. We're going to talk about salary cap casualties. The NFL is a 12-month TV show or 12-month media show.
And then on top of all the other, you still got, Russell Wilson, who, while he looks washed, is a name. He's probably going to get cut and he'll be floating out there. The intrigue, and then, if you're the Giants, what do you do? You got Daniel Jones at quarterback and you're picking 5th overall. Like, do you move somewhere? The Falcons need a quarterback. The Steelers obviously need a quarterback. It's a quarterback need league.
Hey, and Russell Wilson's going to cost you about $1.50.
Yeah.
Because the Broncos are on the hook for $39 million.
Exactly.
So, I mean, anybody could take a flyer on him.
Yeah. And he said, did you hear his quotes today? He said his fire is still burning maybe more than ever, and he wants to win 2 of the next 5 Lombardis. Which just, I know that's probably,
So let me give you my prospective landing spot for Russell Wilson.
Okay.
And this just came to me right now. Minnesota. Because not only am I not going to have to pay Kirk Cousins all that ridiculous money.
Right.
I'm not going to have to pay Russell Wilson anything. And then I could take all that money and improve the positions around him and maybe really have something.
Yeah, I think the thing that hurts Russell Wilson the most is he's one of the most disliked players by his teammates and coaches that I've ever seen in my life. For a guy that, didn't do
no question.
Like, considering he's never been arrested as far as we know, or never did anything like heinous, right? Like, he's not, sleeping with other teammates.
He's just not liked.
Yeah. And, you got to wonder, like, do I want to bring that guy to my building?
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see.
And I'm sure he's just talking trash, but Ocho Cinco has said he said he's going to be with Mike Tomlin and the Steelers. Which I don't want that either.
I don't see that.
Yeah. But like I said, our Steeler moment is basically the Steelers in a very precarious position, because it feels like if the rumors coming out of Pittsburgh are true, you were pinning your hopes to another 10-win season at best with Kenny Pickett looking.
Yeah, you're not going to get 10 wins out of Kenny Pickett. There's no way.
No, because again, his teammates were not very. Again, I think they unlike Russell Wilson, I think everybody likes Kenny Pickett. And I think Kenny Pickett in a room, and maybe even Kenny Pickett, the quarterback on a board in a quarterback room, is a good quarterback. But Kenny Pickett on the field can't get it done.
And all right, well, spring training starts.
Okay.
I'm going to give you a betting choice. Ready?
All right.
The Dodgers or the field?
I'm taking the Dodgers. And normally I would always take the field, but I feel like they're ending up in almost a Tiger Woods like situation at this point with the amount of talent on that team.
Yeah, I mean, the pitching alone, they've improved the pitching significantly.
Yeah.
And if Otani's just going to be a DH, he's going to be good for at least 30 home runs. I mean, if he is an off year, right?
Yeah.
He'll be good for 30 home runs.
Like,
yeah.
The fact that you brought in Otani basically just to be your DH for, I mean, that's like, right?
Yeah.
The ultimate luxury of luxury. And you already have the most stacked. Like, they have the kind of team where if you were playing a video game and you were making the computer make trades, they already have that team.
Yeah, they do. It's sick.
Yeah.
Although I really liked the Braves last year and was really surprised the Braves didn't go up. The Braves didn't go further. I was very shocked on that one.
Yeah. Now, is Otani ruled out entirely, or is he the kind of where, like, all of a sudden...
No, he's not going to pitch at all in 24.
No matter what. Okay.
No matter what.
So we're not
he's
getting...
He's not going to pitch in 24.
The Aaron Rodgers of, like...
No.
Oh, look, Otani's throwing soft toss in the back.
No.
In the bullpen. Okay, all right.
Yeah, there's too much money invested. You're going to give him till 25 to let him pitch again.
Okay, that makes sense.
Hey, and his bat's good enough. It's well worth the investment.
All right, well, before we get to our food and entertainment, I have the one J.J. Redick thing I'll bring up.
Yeah, please.
He's been all over the place. He had the run-in with Doc Rivers. He's been very much vocally not a fan of Doc Rivers and his lack of accountability. And I will say, having been around Doc Rivers on multiple occasions in my life, he's the kind of person, I'll give JJ credit this, like, Doc Rivers thinks he's the smartest person in every room. And if you ever have that feeling, I can guarantee you're not. Because the smartest person never thinks they're the smartest person. But he feels like he can get away with stuff with people he feels lesser than, and I think he thinks a lot of people are lesser than him. And I think it kind of bites him in the ass, and you can hear that in the words from the other players he's dealt with over the years. So I do sort of back him up on that stance. But I thought the interesting thing J.J. Redick was saying was that ESPN, the reason they don't break down game film the way they might on like NFL Network is that the average NBA fan likes to feel smart about the sport they're watching. And that basketball is very much just the players are playing, and it's less about, 4 plays happening at once. And they don't want to hear about all 4 plays and the intricacy of everything. They just want to watch the game that they know understood through their lens. And they don't want all the super analysis of it.
That's fair.
Because you do look, there's a giant, obviously, we've talked about it in the past, like, I think the over-analytics of baseball really hurt baseball. And maybe, crushing the NBA to this spot would be, because basically, the NBA already has the, the math with the analytics and the threes, and are they good, or are they bad, We probably hash that to death, and like Charles Barkley said, I think the biggest thing is the NBA is hurting themselves right now is with the rest. That it's 82 games a year, find a way to play. But
yep.
Yeah. And then JJ Redick making his brand is, I'm on First Take, but I hate the way First Take is, which is also kind of funny.
And I'm right with him on that.
Yeah. Because again, it does seem like Stephen A. does not want that show. But Stephen A. has obviously been very successful, and people love First Take, so good for him. But yeah, when JJ's like, these arguments are stupid, who wants to hear this crap? And it's like, obviously somebody does, because we can't get away from it.
No, we can't. It is what it is, right?
Yeah. Yeah, if you want to hear some more JJ Redick stuff, he's been everywhere. And he goes on his own pod and sort of explains away his explanations on First Take.
All right, what do we got for food and entertainment?
Well, the only entertainment I have is I've been watching Death and Other Details, which is, it's on Hulu. It's like an Agatha Christie 10-episode, everybody's trapped on a giant luxury yacht that was rented out by 2 rich families, so that's a very small group of people on there. Someone is murdered day 1, who done it? And it obviously has to be one of the people on the boat.
Mm-hmm.
And, we go from there. And I'm 5 episodes in, and it's been pretty entertaining. I mean, it's just like the Daniel Craig. What are those Agatha Christie stories called? I don't know.
I don't know what they're called.
But yeah, it's
just whodunits. But I mean,
yeah, it's the 10 Little Indians. It's the dinner party. It's the we're on a secure location where the murderer has to be among us.
We're in a locked room mysteries kind of thing.
Locked room mystery, exactly. And
red herrings. I'm going to try this one. It sounds good the way you described it.
Red herrings are flying everywhere. False confessions, truths coming out. And it has we spoke about this a tiny bit before we got on, and it's just like, who's the world's most famous detective now? Or is that just this trope of a movie and a book? Because I don't know any detectives. Right?
No, I mean, Sherlock Holmes, Hercule Poirot.
Yeah, the Pinkertons.
Yeah. Pinkertons, yeah.
But I mean, like, a lot of these, and again, I love a good mystery novel or a good book, and it's always like, the world's most famous detective. And the irony of James Bond being the world's most famous spy.
Yeah.
Which is one of the dumbest things you can ever say about somebody, right?
But they sell a lot of great books.
They do, yeah.
Make a lot of great movies.
And it stars Mandy Patinkin, who people might know as Inigo Montoya from Princess Bride. And probably other things too, but that's what I know him from.
For my entertainment moment, I'm going to talk about, this is the year leading up, this is the month leading up to the Oscars on Turner Classic Movies. And there's some excellent movies featuring, I think this week is featuring actresses that won or were nominated. We've had directors, we had cinematographers, and we're getting some great movies. I watched Laura the other night, which is one of the best mysteries that I've seen in a long time, and it's 80 years old.
And if you're lucky enough never to have seen it, go watch it, because nobody can spoil it for you.
That's right. I mean, and it's not formulaic. It's just really well done. The acting's good. The stories are good. It's just really well done.
Yeah. And it's a pretty tight, hour and a half, isn't it?
Most of them are like between an hour and a half and an hour and 45 minutes, which is great. They're crisp. They move. They're good shows.
Yeah. And again, the nice thing about watching old 1940s mysteries is hasn't been a recent Twitter discussion telling you everything that was wrong with the ending and everything else. Like, they're there, and you can go watch them and experience them and, be a part of a mystery, which is pretty cool.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly. You have any food?
Sadly, no.
I went to Hall's Chop House today, which is a chain.
Yeah.
And I had lunch, and all I had was she crab soup. I had a bowl of she crab soup, but it's amazing she crab soup. So I like Hall's Chop House in Columbia, and they're scattered throughout the Carolinas. They're really, really good.
Okay.
So that's what I would say there. Let's see, do I have anything else? No. It's been a quiet week.
I do have one food moment for you. Have you ever had Chaka Rooms?
Had what?
Chaka Rooms? They're from Korea.
No.
They're basically like little tiny crackers, or not like crispy cookies.
Uh-huh.
And then they're dipped in chocolate to look like a mushroom cap, and they're each maybe like an inch tall. They're incredible. The chocolate on them is delicious. They taste a lot like you get some of those Belgian cookies where it's just a thin cookie and really good chocolate on top.
Yeah, I love that.
That's what these are, but they're in little tiny mushroom form.
Okay.
So.
On that note, one of my favorites, Mom and I both, Mom more than me, but I like them too, Brownie Brittle.
Oh, yeah.
Amazing. The chocolate chip Brownie Brittle I would kill for.
Of course. It's delicious.
It is. I really like it.
And they're dangerous,
and I started it on an airplane. In an airplane, you get those 1 ounce packages, which I think are great. But on Amazon, they're much bigger packages and much bigger pieces of brownie brittle.
Yeah, and the Choco Rooms, we got them at Costco, and they came in like the little, like, where you get maybe 10 or 15 in a bag, but it's like a nice normal, like under 200 calorie serving.
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously you can get them in much larger form. So.
Well, I'll be all over it.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. Well, watch the Combine, watch some NBA, watch some spring training. Yeah. See what you come up with.
All right. And hit us up with any questions, stuff you want to talk about. If you got a cool topic,
Please.
come on. Yeah.